Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Cindy Trice. I am a 2004 UC Davis graduate, and I've spent the majority of my time in practice as a relief vet. And I really love being a relief vet, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and I don't have time to tell all of them to you right now. But one thing that I've discovered from being a relief vet, from working in a variety of places, all the way from rural one-doctor practices to doing emergency work at corporate and specialty practices, is that I found our profession is filled with exceptional people. It's filled with veterinarians who say yes to some of the craziest challenges. They say yes to client requests, even when they're completely unreasonable sometimes. They say yes to animals in need, even when there's nothing in it for them. They say yes to helping their colleagues. They say yes when they're called upon to volunteer. And in fact, veterinarians say yes so much that sometimes it's actually detrimental to their own health. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how this relief niche actually supports professional well-being and will allow those veterinarians to actually sometimes say no and say yes to themselves. And I'd like to start by telling you a story about a time I tried to do something that every vet knows is impossible, but we all try to do it anyway. I'll tell you about a time I tried to take a vacation. Oops. I was an associate back then, and I had been working my tail off, and I just completely hit a wall. I was physically and emotionally drained, and I was about to snap. And so my husband and I quickly planned this trip to this little teeny tiny island in the Bahamas called Staniel Key. And it felt like it had been forever since I had taken time off. And even though I knew I had worked exceptionally hard every week of every month, I still, when it came time to take time off, I felt guilty, like I was letting my team down somehow, even though I knew I was doing what was right for my own health and well-being. Is there anybody in this room that can relate to that feeling? Yeah, we sometimes feel guilty. I don't know why I felt guilty. I mean, I had earned the time off. I had worked exceptionally hard to get it. But I knew that I needed to take a break, and I just needed to disconnect and not think about clients or patients or medicine or really just being a vet at all. And I really started to relax. We were cruising over this coral, and the scenery was amazing, and I just thought, oh, I feel so good not to be a vet for a week. And that was really a feeling of bliss. But that feeling of bliss lasted for about 10 seconds. Because the minute we land on the tarmac and I get off the plane, this lady in a golf cart pulls up to me, and she runs over to me and says, "You're the vet, right? My cat's sick. Can you just come over and take a look?" This is a true story. And this is also why my husband says I'm never not a vet, because, of course, I said, oh, of course. I mean, what else can you say in that situation? But I share this story because it highlights something I see everywhere I go as I travel the country as a relief vet. In our practices, everyone feels overwhelmed. We feel overworked and burnt out, so we almost never take time off. But even when we do take time off, we're always still on. And so it's this self-perpetuating cycle. Too much work to take a vacation, but so much work that you need a vacation. And after a while, it's really easy to lose sight of the reason we got into veterinary medicine in the first place. Because we love animals and the people who care for them. Well, we love the animals anyway. But the good news is that there's a very simple solution to all this. One that can lighten the workload while you're at work and keep the practice productive while you're away. And that solution is a relief vet. I've been a relief vet now for 11 years, and I've worked in 4 states and over 40 unique GP shelter and ER practices. And this is what I've found, that practices have a hard time finding relief vets. They have a hard time using them well. And relief vets are largely off the radar of people like you who offer services to veterinarians. And frankly, we need what you're offering. And I think we're a largely untapped market for you. Or maybe you're a practice consultant that works with practices. You'll be interested to hear how relief vets can actually increase clinic revenue and client retention and staff morale. And just in case anyone's brand new to all this, A relief vet or a locum is literally a vet who comes in and relieves a vet who's established in the practice. Maybe we work while someone's away, or sometimes we even work if it's just a particularly busy season. So I'd like to start by talking about the profession as a whole. I think as a discipline, we've largely adopted this mindset that everything depends on us as individuals, and that means we kind of have to go it alone. I hear these beliefs in the clinics that I travel to, and I hear similar stories from friends and colleagues. And one of these beliefs is that it's just impossible for us to leave practice for any extended period of time because there are too many patients who need us. We are afraid that our clients won't come in while we're away, and that we can't trust a relief vet. And we're afraid clinic revenues will drop. I mean, we're afraid. That's one of the things that's underlying so much of this well-being issue is fear. Fear that if we don't personally shoulder the responsibility of the patients and clients in our sphere and do that perfectly, that everything's going to fall apart. My point is that the status quo makes vets feel like we have to go it alone. But I'd like to suggest another model, another mindset for how we think about our work and our relationships with each other. I mean, I would like to see a world of veterinary medicine where vets feel like they can share workload and responsibilities, and where our practices are more flexible and so more enjoyable, and where hiring a relief vet is an easy and comfortable process, or it's actually a relief. And most of all, a mindset where we feel like we have permission to have things in balance so that our work life is balanced with our home life and play life, so we can reconnect to the joy of medicine that brought us here in the first place. And I feel really passionate about these two mindsets. Let's call them the shouldering versus the sharing mindsets, because really there's no reason we can't adopt the better one. There's nothing inherent to vet medicine that requires each vet to shoulder all the responsibility all the time. The more of that responsibility we can share, the better for everyone, for clinicians and clients and patients, and really practices as a whole. I think there are 3 reasons why relief vets are a great resource for moving our profession toward this healthier sharing mindset. One is that relief vets save stress. Relief vets can save a lot of stress. That whole story I told you earlier about my colleagues being frazzled and a little peeved when I left for the Bahamas would have been completely different if we'd been able to bring a relief vet on board. And I realize relief vets can't stop veterinarians from being stopped at the grocery store, or from being stalked on Facebook, or even from being found on an island in the middle of the ocean. But we can help with time off, which is so key for keeping work and life in some kind of balance, and for retaining associates who these days are demanding that type of balance in their lives, as Stacy referred to with the vacation. And second, relief vets can save money. In business, there's a saying that you've got to spend money to make money. The same is true here. Relief vets don't volunteer for free. But the return on the investment can be huge because it helps make sure there's no money left on the table. And it supports the most important asset practices have, the well-being of their staff. And staff turnover costs money. I remember working at one really busy and growing practice whose policy was never to turn anyone away as long as they were willing to wait. And I was amazed how many times new clients thanked me for seeing them, sometimes even after waiting hours in the lobby and telling me that they're going to permanently switch their pets to that clinic because their primary vet couldn't get them into an appointment quickly enough. Relief vets can help pick up those extra cases so they don't get shifted to the clinic down the road. We can help with busy seasons, or even with a practice that's testing the waters to see if they can support another associate. And that brings me to the final benefit, which is that relief vets encourage growth in a practice. And I think they do that in 2 ways. The first is that they encourage the exchange of ideas between clinics. Relief vets are like little honeybees, pollinating practices with handy products and protocols and techniques that they pick up from other clinics. And also, sometimes a relief vet situation can turn into something more permanent. I certainly know lots of clinics that would love to bring another doctor on board, but would like a low commitment way to try them out for more than a 1 to 2 day working interview. And I know relief vets who are ready to settle down, but likewise would like to test out clinic cultures before picking a forever home. So in sum, relief vets can help with a lot of parts of owning and running a practice. They save stress, they save money, and they can help a clinic grow to where it wants to go. So the relief niche is this great asset to our profession. But are there enough relief vets? And do these relief vets know how to successfully manage their own businesses so that they can sustainably offer their services? Not really. I am sure many of you have spent a lot of time and resources educating veterinarians about how your products and services can help them. And maybe some of you have been met with skepticism and pride as they've told you how they figured it out for themselves. Raise your hand if you know what those buttons are. Okay, a few people. That is one of 1,000 ways to fix an ear hematoma. We're like that. Our profession has always been filled with resourceful innovators and extrapolators and MacGyvers. And this independence came of necessity because vets often found themselves in situations where they had to problem solve alone. And of course, there was a time when there weren't a lot of products and services for veterinarians. But this shouldering to sharing mindset that I'm describing applies to business practices too. And relief vets are small businesses. We provide business-to-business services, and in turn, we need B2B services like the ones you offer. I did a survey of relief vets to assess their needs, and I found that finding work is not their major pain point. In fact, most of them have way more work than they can handle. They're asking for help with financial planning and insurance advice and tax advice. Many of us feel like we should be able to figure this out ourselves, or we don't know where to go look to find professionals, and that's where you can help. And I'd like to sum all this up with something I like to call connecting the dots. A big problem as I see it is just connection. Connecting relief vets to clinics and connecting relief vets to each other so they can talk shop and share best practices and elevate their practices. And then finally, connecting the whole community to people like you that can help them grow and become better businesses. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity here to really grow and develop this special niche in our profession so that relief vets can serve as an even better tool toward overall professional well-being. We can only get so far when we try to go it alone. What's needed now are not more individuals shouldering the work, but better and more sharing within our communities. And so I would encourage you to think about how relief vets fit into your own corner of the veterinary world, because they're needed there. I haven't seen a corner where they weren't, and they need your services too. And then together, we can make our vets and our profession just as healthy as we'd like to see our patients. Thank you.